Welcome to this video deck on overriding your autopilot. I'm your host, Taylor, and I'll be walking you through how your mindset really shapes your leadership.
So let me just start with a question. Ever have one of those days where you feel like you're just running on default settings? Especially when you're tired or stressed or bouncing from one meeting to the next? Yeah, that feeling, that's exactly what we're going to tackle today.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to get to know that autopilot in your brain. Then, we'll talk about your mindset as like a personal operating system and see the huge impact it has on your team. After that, we get really practical. We'll talk about rewiring habits. And then we'll tie it all back to that 5E framework to really level up your coaching.
Okay, let's dive right in. To really get a handle on how to change our behavior, we've got to first understand why our brain is so obsessed with taking shortcuts in the first place.
Now, 5E Leadership's research builds on the incredible work of Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman. He basically said our brain has two modes. Think of System 1 as that fast gut reaction autopilot. It's awesome for keeping us alive, but man, it is lazy. Then you have System 2. That's the slow, deliberate, deep thinker that you have to consciously wake up. It's super powerful, but it burns a ton of mental energy.
And here's where it gets dangerous. Because our brain defaults to that energy-saving System 1, it's loaded with these glitches. Take recency bias, for example. That's where one bad week can totally make you forget about 51 weeks of stellar performance from a team member. These aren't harmless quirks. They actively cause you to make unfair and inaccurate judgments. So, if these cognitive biases are the buggy default software running on our brain's hardware, how in the world do we install an upgrade? This is where we shift from the brain's mechanics to the software we actually choose to run on it. And for this, we have to talk about the absolute giant in this field, Carol Dweck. Her groundbreaking research shows us we actually have a choice in our mental operating system. We can run on a fixed mindset, which says, hey, my talent is what it is, or we can choose a growth mindset, which believes our abilities are just a starting point that can be developed.
And really, her whole massive body of work kind of boils down to this one simple but incredibly profound idea. A growth mindset isn't about pretending you're great at everything. It's about having a direction. It's the core belief that wherever you are today is just your starting line, not the finish line. Now this is probably my favorite part. Look at the immense power packed into one tiny 3-letter word. Just adding yet completely reframes everything. It transforms what feels like a failure, a dead end, into just a temporary stop on the journey to learning. It is an absolute game changer.
Okay, so let's see how this internal software choice you make has this massive external effect. Because as a leader, your mindset doesn't just stay cooped up in your own head. Oh no, it broadcasts out and literally shapes the reality for your entire team. It's a proven psychological phenomenon called the Pygmalion effect. And in simple terms, it means your expectations of other people become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Seriously, what you truly believe about your team's potential has a direct impact on their results.
This is so crucial. Your personal mindset sets the performance ceiling for your entire team. When you lead with a growth mindset, you stop seeing people as just high performers and low performers. Instead, you see everyone at different points on their own growth journey, and you treat every single one of them with the belief that they can and will excel.
All right, so knowing the why is awesome, but it's only half the battle, right? The real question is, how do we make these changes actually stick, especially when we're stressed and our System 1 autopilot wants to grab the steering wheel? For this, we look to James Clear's fantastic research in Atomic Habits. He argues that the secret isn't just about what you do, it's about who you believe you are. We have to focus on building identity-based habits, tiny daily actions that align with the type of growth-minded leader we actually want to become. And he gives us this brilliant, super practical tool called habit stacking. You don't just try to create a new behavior out of thin air. No, you're smarter than that. You anchor a new, deliberate System 2 behavior onto an existing automatic System 1 habit, something you already do without thinking, like pouring that first cup of coffee.
And this isn't just some nice idea, this is straight up neuroscience. This quote perfectly illustrates what's happening. With enough repetition, you are physically rewiring the circuits in your brain to make this new leadership behavior your new effortless default. How cool is that?
Okay, so you've started to rewire your own brain. Now for the really fun part. How do you help your team do the same? This is where we make it all operational. using that 5E framework you already know to actively coach this mindset in other people. And just as a quick refresher, the whole person leader approach takes this fascinating science and makes it repeatable through those 3 pillars: cognition, culture, and coaching. Today, we're really zeroing in on that coaching pillar. Each of the 5 E's becomes a powerful lever you can pull to coach for a growth mindset and for what Angela Duckworth famously calls grit. It all starts when you engage with a genuine, rock-solid belief in their potential. It continues when you empower them by letting them struggle a bit, showing you trust them to figure it out. And maybe most importantly, you encourage the effort, not just the final score, reinforcing that the process of learning is the real win. And when you consistently coach like this, you create this incredible, powerful reinforcement cycle. Your belief shapes their mindset, which drives new behaviors. Those behaviors, repeated over time, build a new identity as a learner, which then strengthens their belief, and the whole amazing loop starts all over again. So, after all that, what's the next step? How can you start putting this into practice, like right now? Here's your challenge for this week. I want you to conduct a not yet audit. It's simple. Just pay attention. Every single time you hear yourself or someone on your team use that fixed mindset language, I can't do this, I'm not good at that, just gently and consciously reframe it with that magic word, yet. Look, the big takeaway here is this. Your brain's default settings are just that, a default. They are not your destiny. The whole goal is to move from the unconscious autopilot of cognitive bias to the conscious intentionality of a growth mindset. You are not stuck. You have the power to rewrite the code.